Welcome to RealCast. Today we have a very interesting episode. It will be a panel session with my partner Chris, who is the founder of Highgate, and we have an exciting guest from all the way from US, Paul McClean, and Brett Loehmann, right? Business partner of McClean Design. Welcome to Dubai.
Thank you. Thanks
Good
for having us.
Good to see you. And the first question will be for you, Paul.
All right.
For those who might not know you yet, here, especially in Dubai, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what you do?
Thank you, first of all, for having us on. We really appreciate it. I'm an architect, originally from Dublin in Ireland. And as a kid, I was always into houses. That's my thing. Like, I just always loved designing houses. And when I went to architecture school, found out that Southern California was probably the best place to start that career type where you had the right mixture of clients and lots, and the climate as well is amazing. So set up McClean Design in 2000. We're 25 years old this year, which is amazing. Can't really imagine that 25 years have gone by. And we've kind of grown over the years. We started doing houses in coastal California, and that led to kind of out into Los Angeles, into California, across the country, and now we have projects around the globe, including 2 projects here in Dubai, which we're super excited about. And I'm here today with my business partner, Brett Loehmann.
Yes, actually, it's interesting that you say that. So, like, I was reading an article on Diggs about you, and it's like, so I'm Irish Italian, also families from Dublin and then from Sicily. So we have
That's
like,
but
born in Canada, but then also like the young interest in architecture. So like my grandmother, actually, I remember that when I was reading, I remember my grandmother was telling me that when I was like in grade 1. Like they said do like a project, and my first project was like designing a house. Yeah. That was like my dream home. Yeah. And then I just started making like memories. Like I always wanted to make money. I was always trying to hustle when I was a kid. And then my aunts and uncle, like, if you want to make money, you need to paint the house and do landscaping, like all kinds of stuff. So it just reminded me, like, we obviously went a little bit different paths. Like I chose like the hustler side, and then like but ultimately like life brought me back into to meet you, and also back into like home design and development. Yeah. So it's crazy how like life works. But yeah. It was interesting.
You were doing landscaping too to keep yourself going, weren't you?
That was my summer job growing up, was landscaping. And
I mean, this perfect weather, right? Like winter time, shoveling snow for all the neighbors, and then like fall, clean up the leaves. There was always some kind of hustle related to the
hustle is good though, because I mean that's the problem. I think people need to hustle to get through life. You got to start.
Hey, kids, the new generation,
they don't seem to want to.
Yeah, they don't want to hustle.
Sorry, kids.
Yeah, it's like design's always been there. Even mowing the lawns, I was always creating designs with how I'd mow this fixed lawn.
Same. Same.
My parents were like, what are you doing? Just do it straight. I'm like, no, I want to do it different this time. I want to make a T or an X, so design's always kind of been there.
Yeah, I think you like looking at the baseball fields, because I was really into baseball, like seeing how they made it like pretty with the lines, like, so I sort of.
And the lines got to be perfect. If they're slightly off, you got to start over.
So that's why you guys have the nice clean lines in your design. Yeah, so it resonates with the childhood memories. Very well.
So we'll go with your question. So we will do like ping pong style, right? So you ask question, I ask question. So
well, that's the only thing I got, but we'll see.
That's it.
All right. So the question will be, what drew you into like in architecture, like originally? How the journey started?
Well, I kind of alluded a little bit to that already, but I don't really know where it came from, because I don't have anyone in my family who was into architecture. But my mom says that when I was about 4 years old, I was already drawing houses, and I asked her, who's the person that does this, for a living? And she said, that's an architect. So it started really early, and I never really went in any other direction. So it was always just focused on getting into architecture school and going from there. But also, I don't really have, I just love houses. It would be great to design other buildings, but I think I'm really focused in on that. And partially because I do like people. And, you know,
Really?
people are a big part. Really? Yeah, surprisingly. And I'm always fascinated by our clients. And, you know, obviously the people we have who do these type of projects have been successful in their lives because they're at a point where they can build a house. And building a house for your family, like, although it's very stressful, it's, you know, you're generally in a good place in your life. Like, you're usually not getting divorced, though you might be by the time we're done.
By the time we finish the house, I was a marriage counselor when I was building houses.
That's There's a big therapy part of it, isn't there, Brett?
I think it's the design is one thing, but the process and the involvement of the people, the communication, the meetings, the seeing their eyes light up when you're designing something that's so important to them. So I think there's a lot of stress involved, but there's also a lot of passion, and the reward is really seeing them in their house. And even we'll get texts years later, just, you know, simple text that I can't believe we did this. I love my house, and that's really what it's all about. Yeah.
So I think, like, to add to that question, I think a refined version is like, what made you guys choose like modern design? Because architecture can go in different ways. You can do like, you know, wainscoting on the walls, like, and make it more like a barn style.
Oh, no, you can't. You just can't.
I agree.
I mean, that was part of it. It never, for me, was anything except modern architecture. Like, I remember I was probably 10 years old or something when I found in a local library, which for our younger audience is like where you find books, you know. I'm not sure if people know about that anymore.
It wasn't on Kindle yet.
It wasn't on a Kindle. It wasn't on your phone. But I found a book from Frank Lloyd Wright, and there was Falling Water in there in Pennsylvania, and I was like, "Oh, wow, that's a house. That's amazing," you know. And from there, it kind of grew, I think.
We actually had the pleasure to design a house that he designed. So he redesigned the entire house that he did like long time ago, obviously, and we kept a lot of elements just to like celebrate like his architecture as well too. So like when we recreated the space, it was like really nice. We kept a lot of like elements like in the living room area, and there was a library, like, so we kept a lot of the elements from there. So and then he was like one of the first person to do like that corner window detail.
Yes,
that people like, you know what I mean? Like that was like way ahead of his time.
The long overhangs and
like the cantilevers.
Certain elements that just repeat themselves. And
I think there's a great tradition. And in many ways, he was maligned for many years by a European kind of group of contemporary architects who were basically thinking about architecture as like a machine for living in, like Corbusier, versus Frank Lloyd Wright was coming from an organic place, you know, building out of nature, which I think to us appeals a lot more, and is a big factor in what we design, is like relationship to nature, relationship to site, and how the project opens up, and how you can make the most of that.
I think that's what people don't understand with modern design. They look at clean lines, big windows, but actually, like, I feel like the reason for like the large openings of windows and spaces to actually accent like the landscape, to tie it together with the internal space, and then using water features and trees, Chris. And
that's the whole point of it. And sometimes looking at the building is the wrong way to think about it. You're actually supposed to look out from the building.
Agreed.
So that's your signature, right? So like the modern thing. And I've seen a lot of houses, the projects like on your website as well. Unfortunately, I haven't seen it physically. Hopefully, maybe next year when we travel to US.
So. Well, when we finish our property.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about that one. What do you think?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Yeah. So our project, which we're gonna do in Emirates Hills. So
you have nature
kind of ideas you have for that. Shall we disclose it, or it's
I think
confidential?
They're actually gonna have our first site visit on Friday. But I can give you a briefing.
Sure.
I'm sure you know Emirates Hills.
Yes, we do.
So Emirates Hills is like, I guess, like the Hollywood Hills, or like, you know, it is the most
the Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills.
Yeah,
exactly. Of Dubai. We actually have a client from Beverly Hills actually that's here now. That's actually relocating. We will get into later on about that. And so obviously you have the golf course, but we chose the location not only because the golf course, you're elevated from the course, you have the skyline view, and then sunsets behind the house, sort of like on an angle. So you have like a northeast sort of facing, and so you have the nature. So like the play on nature is what we're looking to do.
What it's all about.
And then also nobody's done it. We want to put like a plunge pool on the rooftop, like an infinity glass edge pool. So when you're entertaining or just even just having a relaxing evening, you can enjoy the view in the swimming pool. And so, because look, for our sort of inspiration is from my side, like we created a development company for investors to like participate with us because we're not self-funded. But it's a lot of like my passion for architecture is why we sort of formed Highgate Investment. And because I feel like when you're doing it for the passion, then it actually drives even more returns for the project, because you're not thinking of it like, how can I cut corners? Like for me, I want to actually, if we end up managing to find extra money in the project, I'd probably reinvest it into like even increasing the overall space or design or furnishing or whatnot, right? So,
well, I think that's a really good approach, and it's not really, it best to think about it in terms of value, because cutting corners in a luxury high-end project doesn't lead to value. It leads to the destruction of value, basically. And we've had clients who, even private clients, for example, we're building homes for, but their attitude is like, you're going to try and do the best you possibly can. And if you ever need to sell it, because you have done the best you possibly can, someone else is going to appreciate that. Because the buyers who buy these homes, they're educated, they have their lawyers, they have their designers, they have everyone with them, and they kind of see through when people do bullshit right away.
This is this is funny. Exactly what he's saying is what I tell my clients that are looking to invest with us is like, people are not dumb. We're building like $50 to $100 million houses. We're not building like a $2 million house. Exactly. So like those people own multiple houses.
They have
especially Dubai.
Yeah.
Dubai is more like a business platform. So if there's somebody spending that much money, likely it's not their like only family home. It's where they're gonna entertain when they're here. They want it to feel family oriented. So I think creating the design and space should be like homely, but then also have a feel of entertainment. And then there should be a segment, like we always look at the ground floor and first floor as like the wife's quarters, where it's very like earth tones, like, it's a nice family, warm enriching place. And then the basement, we have a lot of elements for the like a masculine.
Fun
so that way, and then you sort of have the space for everybody, because a lot of people, like we've looked at some designs that's happened in Dubai, they was done with Salta from one of our other development, I guess, competition. I wouldn't say competition because we work with everybody, but they did very masculine space, and every man that walked through the door loved the house, and none of the wives are like, I'm not living here. Like, if you wanna be single, buy the house and enjoy. Yeah. So how do you actually like create the space like so it can be balanced?
Well, I think, just beyond the house too, I think we use water a lot. So it's not just what's happening inside the walls, but also how you interact with the outside, different water features and pools, and just the sound, the light, the air quality, everything goes into the house itself. So I think as a starting point, we love to see the site itself, because the site has inspiration. And then also just thinking about the end user, the program, who's going to be occupying these spaces. We start often with a lot of questions, as many questions as we can extract. How do you envision living? Who's going to live there? Is it family? Is it just a couple? Is it the house you're going to live in for the rest of your life? Is it just a temporary house? All those questions kind of start to formulate an idea of what this house could be. And then we play off of successful projects from the past and what worked and what didn't work. And so really every project is a unique project. I think there's a set of tools that we use. There's these sliding glass walls that go away, and this open floor plan, but really every house is a direct result of everything that inspires that exact site.
I think too, nobody really needs these homes. It's not about meeting basic living requirements, right? So you have to have an emotional resonance there that connects people to it. So we try and think about that a lot, like when you approach the house, what do you see? How does it make you feel? How does it separate you from day-to-day life? We don't really focus so much on the materials, because I think that's somewhat secondary. If you create the beautiful spaces, and then that's where our clients tend to bring their ideas in, you know. So I think that works well, because I've seen old enough now, you know, to seen a couple of our houses get completely reworked at this stage.
On the internal space. Yeah.
But if you got the right spaces in the first place, then the house can do it again, you know, and have a different feeling. It's kind of like putting a nice dress on a pretty girl, you know, just keep putting a new dress on, right? And it still looks good, or a suit on a nice looking gentleman, you know.
Yeah. And I think like, so what would be good, actually, this is actually a good meeting as well too, is that, so like when we're designing this house, I mean, and all of our properties, I'm sure we're going to do many things together, is that I like to tell the story of how I see the realtor bringing the client through the house as well too. So like you using the stories of inspiration, and then adding like cool like James Bond features in the house too, where like you wow the people. So because it's not so much like, obviously you're not gonna be able to like sell a house. Like it's like you can't really sell the house, but you can sell the story and then get the wife to get emotionally attached to the house through the flow, through the story. Yeah. So that's, I think that would be part of like your guys' mindset looking at this new project that we're gonna do together. Yeah. Say, how can we tell the perfect story in the entire house?
Yeah, there's big moves, and then there's also subtle moves, just things that maybe you wouldn't even pick up, but a year down the road, somebody's walking through the house and they're like, oh, I didn't notice that before. Like one example being, if you've got a corridor, not just putting a solid wall at the end, but really having that focal point where every time you interact with the house and move through the house, there's always something visually to interact with, and an idea of where you're going and where you came from. And you know, some of those are these big grand gestures like the entry, but then you could have a back corridor that's just as beautiful. So we try to, you know, mix and play with really bringing back natural light again, like always trying to bring natural light and the outside in, continuity of materials.
I think it has to be, you know, also very practical, which is another issue, like getting that balance that, like, in a way, it has to function properly. Agreed. And that's something people often miss out. Like, I think the worst project architecturally I see are things where people are throwing too many ideas at something just for the sake of the idea.
Yeah.
We have actually, that's an interesting point. So one of our friends from Los Angeles was mentioning there was a developer named Niall, I think, that did these like absolutely like massive homes. But then he did all of them sort of at once, I believe, right? They were all sort of
he's very hard worker. You know, he built, I think, about 10 homes, and we did a lot with him. And I think part of it was just the timing, because we started after the recession of 2008, the really big recession, and nobody was really doing projects at that stage in Los Angeles. So by the time the houses were finished, like basically 4 years later, like 12, 13, there really wasn't much on the market except for these homes that we created with Mr. Niami and some other developers, and they all sold for enormous amounts of money.
So they did end up selling.
Well, but then he went on to do bigger and bigger things, and it was actually an interesting kind of lesson, I think, because I see this quite often, you know, with development. It's like a lot of it is really timing, you know, like despite everyone being talented and really good at what they do, if the timing is off, that means the numbers are off. And I think we were very fortunate that land prices, construction prices were all quite depressed in the early parts of that decade. So by the time the houses are finished and people had money, like there was good profit, you know. But I think that's which kind of weeds out the people who are really interested in doing this for a living for their entire lives versus the people who are trying to make a quick buck. You know, because when you're in a market where it's already saturated and everything's really expensive, you know, if you can actually make a profit on a development, it means you really know what you're doing, you know, versus just throwing money at it.
This is why it's important. Like, so that's exactly why we work like in the very boutique, scarce market, because it is a saturated market right now. Everybody, and if you look at on Dubai real estate trends, like everyone is talking about flipping this and that, but they're only thinking about it for money, and they've heard someone talk about it. And this is not to like toot my own horn. Like I've actually been involved for many years, even longer than most contractors in Dubai that are doing very well. It's just that I took my first 2 years in Dubai to understand like the lay of the land, boots on the ground, hustle, make sales in real estate, and actually understand like how it works. So you're absolutely right. Like you can't just think about it like from a financial perspective, because that like rated this stage of the market in Dubai, I think we're still going up. But I think it's more of like a plateau situation right now, which means that you have to be very careful of where you select like the view, like the surrounding, and then what do you actually build in the house. If you're just gonna blend in with everyone else, which is why we wanted to work with you guys, because I feel like something different. Dubai hasn't seen it, and most of the buyers are Europeans, especially in Emirates Hills. Like all the largest transactions have been someone like a Scottish billionaire, a British billionaire, somebody that's involved with sports. So they want something like Los Angeles, Beverly Hills style house.
I think we were talking about too, like how do you start? Especially in this day and age of renderings and visuals and CGI, like there's still the art of the floor plan, I think, and
Yes.
it goes back to being practical. Like you can make something look really cool, but it also has to be practical, and it goes back to the foundation of the house, which is the floor plan.
That was the problem with like Niall's houses, which George mentioned, right? If you remember.
Yeah, this is not
Because
our feedback.
they were, that was the feedback from our friends from LA. So he said like it wasn't that practical. That houses was, coming to your point, Paul, like needs to be practical. Even like when sometimes I show my wife, some pictures and nice designs. I look at this, she says, yeah, it's nice, but it's not cozy, it's not comfortable. So I wouldn't live there. Like that's her feedback as well. So coming to your point, this is very important. So my question now will be like LA houses versus Dubai houses. What are the like differences you guys see? Like
I think
and what's missing here?
Well, I think as a starting point, not like I want to toot California's horn, right?
Yeah, California.
I went to California because that's where people have been doing these amazing contemporary designs for like 100 years, basically, and there's a great depth of knowledge there. So the designs, as an architect, I would see houses in California, sometimes houses in Australia and so on, where people were just, how these houses were interacting with nature, and the style developed there, kind of that international kind of California style. And we've been really fortunate to get to do that ourselves. And I'll tell you a little story. A few years ago, I did a house in Germany, and it was in a village. And I was trying to make it more contextual to the village. And my client was like, well, if you keep doing that, I'm going to fire you, because like I didn't hire you to do a German house. I hired you to do a California house in Germany, right? And when the house was finished, I was lucky enough to stay there. And I could really see, even though the climate was very different, how a lot of the ideas that we've learned over the years would apply to different places. So obviously Dubai is similar in that it's a dry desert climate to where we are in California, but our climate is much milder than this climate, and we don't have the same humidity. So what we always come across as we kind of work around the world is like, how do we take the ideas that we've learned and how they relate to the science one and just apply them in a way that keeps them comfortable in a different environment, So, for example, in a cold environment, it's still beautiful to have it's actually more important to have all this glass to connect to nature.
Because like the snow on the tree leaves is like
but you
beautiful.
gotta have triple
actually,
glazing.
Right?
Which,
you know, right? Because of Chicago, like it's snow is so nice. You wake up and like the night before it's green, and then the next morning it's like snow like trickling off the leaves and like icicles and stuff.
Yeah, I think too, like because we've been doing more and more projects just in the last 5 years outside of California, and people come to us, clients come to us, and it's like this idea of the California lifestyle. How can I have that where I'm at, whether it's in Colorado or Texas or Miami? So we have to take those design principles and then apply the mechanics to whatever that place is. Like in Miami, for example, or here, you can't always open up the sliders, and when you do, the humidity, if you don't do it right, it's going to work against you. So we have to take principles of mechanics and work them with the architecture, the beauty of the architecture itself. So we continue to learn a lot from the different places that we work. Things like bugs. We don't have bugs in Southern California. So we open everything up, and it's nice. And you do that in Miami, you're going to get mosquitoes. So we have to work with bug screens, and bug screens are naturally not beautiful.
Terrible.
So you have to work them
Terrible.
in, and especially with our corners that we love to not have columns that bug screens don't quite work at those open corners. So we have to we have to actually push back a little bit on the industry, different vendors, bug screen manufacturers as one example. We want something that's practical, but it can't be ugly either. Like it has to.
I think too, the methodologies of construction are different, and what appeals to people about the houses that we have done in California or other people have done in California is how light they look, like how the planes seem to float, and how the structure, even though we've got earthquakes and seismic loads, the structures seem very light. When you come to places like Miami or Dubai, everything's made out of heavy concrete, and so you're trying to find a way to balance that, so we work not against the local contractors, but try and work to explain how can we get closer. So, for example, we're doing a very large house in Miami right now. It's about 40,000 square feet or 4,000 square meters. And we really had to work with an engineer to get a composite steel and concrete structure that would give the look we wanted, rather than just going with the way they normally do it, which is similar to here in Dubai, where it's just like heavy concrete, where you might have like a meter or 1.2 meters of, roof structure. Or we want to have 60 centimeters,
Yeah, because it looks much cleaner.
It's so much cleaner. It looks like it's almost not there.
I agree. Yeah, no, it's not. Exactly, I think, but we can. The good thing is we do have a lot of steel structure, so we can we can do the whole envelope and steel structure. And the good thing is that we don't have rain much,
right?
So we don't we obviously need to slope the roofs and stuff for drainage and all, but you can also get away with not having to think about frost lines and like rain all the time, and gutter systems.
Except
and
for
things
that one
like
big
this.
flood you guys had.
I
last year
literally
was, oh my God, it was like I've never seen such kind of
I got
rain in my
stuck.
entire life.
I actually, me, of course, I'm always working and busy, and my wife is like, "Don't go out. They're supposed to rain." I'm like, "No, forget about it. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna rain." So I literally got stuck on Sheikh Zayed Road, and I couldn't get home that night. So I was walking, in the rain, and I had to leave my car, and I had to cross Sakim, and it was up to my waist, to walk across, and every hotel was full. Anyways, it was not fun.
Yeah, it was disaster.
I flew out that morning and it was misting, and then when I landed 17 hours later, I got all these flurry of flood videos.
Oh, you were here in Dubai? That's just wow. The day really.
Oh wow.
You know what I was gonna ask?
It
wasn't
pleasant.
One thing that's interesting, so you were born in Dublin.
Yes.
And then so it was a very ambitious move to Los Angeles, where competition is quite fierce when it comes to architecture. So that tells a lot about your personality. That it was but it's also very respectable, because it's you don't look at it like it's competition. You more wanted to go there, it seems to absorb and to learn. And I think a lot of people now don't understand that. I have conversation with people all the time, and instead a lot of, especially in Dubai, it seems rather than wanting to learn and be mentored and absorb information, there's this sort of jealousy thing, or I wish I was that kind of person. But it seems your personality is more so I want to go, I want to learn, I want to go so I can be the best version of what I love and as a passion. Would you say that's true?
No, I think so, in the sense that I didn't really set out, and I think that's maybe perhaps because of social media today and so on, that a lot of younger people, they seem to be trying to skip steps, where I just wanted to go learn about architecture. I hoped I could get a job where I could, draw houses, and luckily I did. And when we started our firm, we originally didn't even intend on staying in Los Angeles, but I had a couple approach me about doing a private house. And I was gosh, I was at the time 29, and that's really rare as because architecture is kind of an old profession, it takes a long time to learn, and getting to do a house at that age, by myself, a really contemporary house, was a great opportunity. So I was still thinking, okay, I'll do this one house and then do something else, but then more projects kind of slowly came along. But I think that I never really had the idea, I never imagined that we'd get to work around the world or anything. And there's just a couple of key points along the way where things kind of changed. We did a house in Los Angeles during the like in the run up to the recession, and like between 2005 and 2008, and it was just a really interesting architectural house because the client would like to swim, and he wanted a 75-foot lap pool, which couldn't fit sideways, so it had to go down the middle of the house. So we had to split the house in half for the lap pool. So we made an interesting plan. And then when the recession happened, he had to sell the house. Excuse me, and it sold for a lot of money at the time during the recession, and that just woke people up that maybe there was a market for contemporary houses. Because back then in Los Angeles, most of the developments were going on were more traditional. So things kind of changed, and we were lucky to be right in that location and that position when things were changing. Yeah. And but it's been a long journey. It's a 25-year journey to get here. It's not something that happens overnight. And I still think we're trying to learn and trying to get better. And that's what drives us. We're not really focused on money per se. It's trying to come up with new ideas, try and think of things in different ways.
I think a good metaphor what you said was that like you can't skip any steps, and like part of construction is building from the foundation up to like deliver like the architecture and the end. So I think that's like a good lesson for the younger generation is like
every day we're learning something
every
new.
day we have to be learning. The moment we stop learning is like our brain starts to die.
Yes.
Actually, literally.
Every new project you're working with a new group of people, and everybody's got something to offer. So I think as much as we can try to teach through design, we learn just as much from contractors and subcontractors and consultants, and everybody has a role to play in these designs.
And I'm not saying that I'm not gonna, don't take this the wrong way, but obviously Paul, you're obviously like an OG for architecture. So having Brett is very good because you have like a different outlook of the younger generation.
Yeah.
And obviously you guys both see things differently, like,
Yes. Yeah.
which is like the interesting thing about like mentoring people is like, I mean, I don't know like your guys, if that was how you guys partnered up,
yeah.
but it makes sense. Like, and I think it's interesting to like mentor the younger generation because we don't have the same like outlook of things. So like when you're teaching other people, you can actually then learn back from them, and you guys sort of like graft together because like we have a conversation, and like I look at it differently than how Toghrul will look at it, and vice versa. So it's nice that you guys have that sort of synergy with each other as well.
He's great at sketching, an amazing sketcher. Starts with a sketch floor plan. I can't sketch.
Yeah.
But I grew up in a different era of learning everything digitally, so it's still, we're rooted in architecture, but there's different approaches to it, even just from a technical standpoint.
But I think also people have this concept that there's like one person that's doing all these ideas and so on. It's such a collaborative process, and it's like everybody in the team. It's such a team effort, and I think that's building what Brett was saying, that you have to look at everyone that is in your project. I mean, everyone from the carpenters up to the architects and the engineers, and try and get the value that everyone can bring to the project and what ideas they have. We kind of try and stir the ship, keep it moving in the same design direction, because obviously if you've got like 100 people with different ideas, you kind of have to herd those ideas in one direction. But it's really a group effort to build things, and you have to be collaborative.
I think too, as we go into the future, just with AI and
I wanted to ask that question actually.
Well, communication. It's how you communicate the design, because ultimately you start from something that's just kind of made up in space, and then it has to turn into something concrete. So there's different ways to communicate that, whether it is through something three-dimensional or a 2D detail. So those are the things we're constantly trying to reinvent and learn from the industry, and just be a part of wherever this is going.
So what do you think about AI, and what do you guys do? You use tools?
Yeah,
AI
I think we're
tools?
starting to. I think it's a tool.
It's a tool.
And that's
I
what
agree.
people should be aware of. I often think like the amount of work we can do today with the staff we have is probably 4 times what we could do like 20 years ago with all the new tools we have. So I expect another kind of leap that way. But at the same time, most of our work is people management, in one form or the other. Yeah. So I don't see that really changing. I think our role, particularly building a custom home, I don't think is going to really change, at least in the medium term, no matter how brilliant AI is. And my hope is like that AI will take away the grunt work for us, where we won't have to be doing construction documents and, tender documents anymore. Because
that's the least fun thing to do.
Like the big thing
and
is
try
like,
to make the tendering package to like for dummies.
Exactly.
Sometimes they call it the Lego set.
Because that was my job as a contractor, because I was not the pushback contractor. I was like the kind of guy, like I wanted to implement, because I was very intrigued by design and architecture, so I wanted to find a way to execute, because everyone's full of excuses. And let's face it, like especially in the US and Canada, it's a lot of like ex-cons and stuff who are the bricklayers and the stucco guy. I mean, you know what I mean? So trying to manage executing architecture with these people is not the easiest task in the world, and my job was finding a solution, like helping create the cross sections, and also like in the US and Canada, like you have moisture barriers and stuff, so you need to like think about like setting the windows back for the frost line, and like thermal breaks, and like there's so many different things. Like Dubai is actually quite easy, because the only thing we have is humidity, really. Like they don't have really much else, but like this is the complicated part. Of what your guys' job is, to actually get the final product delivered and built. How do you guys deal with that? Like do you guys have your own team that oversees and helps manage that process after you give out the tender package, or do you guys have the contractors manage everything?
No, we generally stay involved on anything aesthetic is really important. It's very easy to lose the aesthetic direction of the house, between the documents, and there are so many decisions, because it's a three-dimensional building, that no matter what, you just can't fully explain them in drawings. People interpret things or don't understand drawings, so that you need to get out there in the field.
Yeah, and I think like in Los Angeles, we can be there once a week and look at stuff, so there's continuity, whereas if you're doing a project here and we're in Los Angeles, you might only visit the site once every 6 months, so it really, you have to rely on other people too. So and it's, as much as you can tell them how you think it should go, communicate the intent, there's a reliance.
We definitely have to rely on local people that way, and so it's important to find good team members and partners, and we've been really lucky so far, but I think also because we come with an open mind, and we're not trying to force our ideas onto people. We're trying to find a way to work together. Sometimes we have a project right now in Bangkok, a big house, and our local architect there is, sometimes I'm like, he gets so excited about things. He's like, those guys in Los Angeles, they would never accept this. I'm like, actually, it's actually okay. I'd be totally fine with that, but they're so intent on getting the design, like to get the design exactly the way they think we want it, that they can be a little inflexible almost. And we're actually more flexible than they are, So it's, but just having that passion, that's what's really important, that they have the passion for the project. They want to see it through, the same as we want to see it through. We want everybody to be excited and feel fulfilled at the end that we did something worthwhile. And some of these projects take a really long time. So we have a couple of projects that have passed the 10-year mark. They're still not finished. Which is probably, Dubai wasn't here then.
Yeah. Would you guys consider an expansion into Dubai? Like, I mean, obviously you guys are doing projects. You'll probably have some more upcoming.
Yeah, I think so. It's a wonderful place, and I love the energy here, and how I just feel like there's a sense of optimism about the future, which is somewhat missing sometimes in other places, North America or Europe. People tend to be a little bit more worried, and it's mature society problems, versus here people are still building and thinking about the future, and there's a lot of excitement here, a lot of new ideas.
I do, yeah. Every time I fly back from here to the States, on the flights there's podcasts that play in the background, and it doesn't even have to be architecture, just anything. There's medicine, there's psychology, but there's always something inspiring coming out of Dubai. I think there's that optimism for the future.
I mean, look, they're like, the good thing is like places like Abu Dhabi, like they're self-made, self-funded. So like the good thing is that with the UAE, they have the ability to be able to, expand without investments and the big hedge funds coming into the market. They have their own sovereign wealth funds here, and like they're doing initiatives like the largest data room in the world. I mean, data is the most expensive asset that you can pretty much own, and blockchain technology and all. So so many different initiatives to drive the economy, which I think we are just going to discuss something along this lines as well.
Yeah. Also, regarding sustainability, what do you guys think about that? Because Dubai is moving towards sustainability a lot. There are so many communities, our villa communities are coming with this concept of sustainability.
I think it's
what
easy
do you guys
to
think about it?
I think it's easy to throw the word around.
Yeah.
A lot of people do, but
I think it's overused.
yeah, definitely that way. But I think there are sometimes, if we deal with all sorts of people from all different ways of life, and I always try and think about it from a practical perspective. I mean, there are certain things that you want. Like you want to have good energy usage, so if you can, use like solar power or other means to make your house independent and manageable, you can sell that idea to people, that this is part, like, because I will say to people, rather than talking directly about sustainability, I'll say, well, your electricity bill is going to be $10,000 a month or something, right? Do you want that, or can we work around that? And then I've kind of slipped in a little bit of, sustainability there. I think the other big thing that I've just come to the realization is like embedded carbon is, such a big problem. Like tearing things down is one of the biggest mistakes we can do. So we have to build better for the long term. And I was doing a talk in Dublin earlier in the year, and people were talking about sustainability in Irish architecture. And, the most popular buildings in Ireland are like 300 years old. And it's, well, why are they popular? They're popular because of the space and the light and how beautiful they were built back then. And people still want to be in those spaces. Yeah. So you want to create spaces that have the potential to last for hundreds of years because people really like them. They don't just want to tear them down and build something else,
Yeah, the mid-century homes in Toronto.
The people get revisiting them, reworking them, and then they carry on. One of our favorite projects we did was a remodel of a 1903 original San Francisco, old lady house from before the earthquake, one of the survivors. And we had the whole thing up in the air, so we put parking underneath it, which is really scary in a seismic zone. But now it's on its way for another 100 years till like another architect, another group of families think about it maybe in 2100. Like, what do we do to keep this house alive, Yeah.
We did put a pool on the roof though for that one.
Oh my god, I love.
Oh really?
That's gonna be our staple. We're gonna do all of our projects. They're gonna do a swimming pool on the roof.
Swimming pool on the roof is
because
the way to go.
We're only doing like beachfront, golf course, or like extreme like nature, like Barari, like Al Barari. Have you been there before?
Not yet, no.
Yeah, so Al Barari, we're just now like locking in a project, and the view, like you're backing onto the main lake. You're elevated from like the pathway, and from the rooftop you have the full skyline view and the lake behind you. So it's like stunning. So like this is like our Highgate staple is like the location has to be like able
top
to
notch.
use like crazy architecture once we're done. And then like utilize the roof space because it's very hot in Dubai. Like you're not gonna, unless there's water on the roof, like 90% or 80% of the year, you're not gonna want to go outside on the rooftop. And,
that's very true. But at nighttime, it's beautiful here.
I mean, in the summertime, it's still very hot.
No, it's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah,
so very hot.
Yeah, but that's. I think it's like you said earlier, Chris. A lot of people live in cold climates, and you can't really be outside for 4 months of the year. It's kind of just the opposite way around here, right? Yeah.
Okay, what was the most expensive home that you have ever built? It's very tricky question.
Tricky questions, yeah. So we've got some.
If you can disclose, I mean.
No. I mean, obviously,
okay.
the most well-known one is the one in LA, which we're remodeling right now for the new owner, and that's an enormous house. It's like 110,000 square feet.
This is with Nile, right?
Nile.
But now there's a new owner, and we're reworking the house completely. But I mean, just the sheer scale of it makes it incredibly expensive. You've got 100,000 square feet. So if you're going to replace a floor at say $50 a square foot, that's $5 million right there just for the floor and nothing else. So that makes it a very expensive home. But it is, it's unique in that it's not really possible to build a home that large in Los Angeles anymore because the rules have changed. So it's worth the investment that the new owner is making to bring it up to. He's making it really beautiful, and we're terrifically excited about it now. It's going to be the house we always hoped it would be when we're finished.
It's crazy how small the world is.
It is small.
No matter where you are in the world.
Yeah.
So like we're one of actually Toghrul's good friends has introduced us to somebody from Los Angeles that we mentioned earlier, and like he was like talking about the one, and because he's seen some of the houses we're designing, and he's like, wow, like we've done some really nice stuff in Dubai, and same with our contractors. And then he's also talking about bringing Niall to introduce us here and get involved in this space. So, but yeah, it's just more. It was more so like the small world aspect.
Yeah, it is a small world.
Well,
it's and like a lot of these people move between these different communities. So.
True.
Well, social media makes it that small world too, because everything's out there.
I agree. So we can see.
But it's a good thing. I mean, we're blessed to be like having so much business and meetings and stuff, and almost every single meeting, like somebody knows me or my business partner or Toghrul. So it's just like somehow everyone is interconnected. Why it's very important to actually have like ethics and principles, and also like passion towards what you do.
Exactly.
Which is why I think you've been successful, right? Like you guys both like just having the passion. Like it wasn't about I want to go and become the best architect so I can make all this money. It was like I just love doing it.
It's just
all about passion. Yeah. When you're passionate, I think everything else will just flow. Okay, I'm very curious. What do American clients typically think about Dubai? So
what's the talk about
what's
Dubai in the
States?
Dubai is hot and it's very far away.
I think they're very intrigued by Dubai.
Okay.
I think there's an impression that there is this. It's this faraway place that's very exotic. But things were happening very fast, and it's come up very fast. It is a long way away, like Brett says, which it's kind of interesting that I think there's a lot of Europeans and people from South Asia are really more focused on moving here. And I think also a big part of that, sorry to say, is the American government's worldwide tax claim. So there's no real advantage for an American potentially to move the same way as there might be for someone from Frankfurt or something, or Canada, But it hasn't, I think that, I mean exotic in the sense of different, good different. They hear stories the Dubai chocolate was a huge phenomenon, and they think about all of that, like the Burj Khalifa and so on. People are very impressed with all of that.
Yeah, I know when I was in school studying, I think the first building I came across that I was trying to pull from was the Burj Al Arab. Yeah, so it's just like those, and I think in the those staple projects really put Dubai on the map. And when you think of Dubai, you think of the skyscrapers, obviously, and maybe the glitz and glamour. And sometimes it gets compared, at least in the U.S., to like Las Vegas almost, just because of all the lights and the pace. But it's interesting too, just as we've come to know Dubai more and more, is like the private villa side of it, and it's not just the tall skyscrapers. There's a lot more to Dubai than just that. So
like the Royal Atlantis, what do you guys think about because I remember it was like a fad like 15 years ago about container homes, they were doing the stacking containers, and then Royal Atlantis was designed around that concept.
The concept, we're taking it to the ultimate. And
that's what Dubai does, right?
Does very well, I think. It's very intriguing, the idea of Dubai. I think that, like we alluded to earlier, the optimism and the approach to the future, those are really refreshing in a lot of places, which I think also, as you mentioned, without using the word convenience, but like life, the way life's put together here. I know people who, first impressions weren't sure about Dubai, but then the more they come here, the more they like it. How polite everyone is and how safe it is. And those are huge things for people. And I think it leaves a really good impression. And I think what the Emir has achieved in the last 40 years is astounding, really, when you think about how difficult it is. We come back to Dubai every 6 months or so, and we're like, wow, look, there's another brand new building 100 stories high. We're lucky if we managed to paint a room in the meantime.
There was a video of it went viral of Mohammed Al-Abbar. Mm-hmm. He's the chairman and CEO of MR. I mean, you see MR, the builder of Burj Khalifa and all. And he said in the Western world, they asked him a question like, you don't have freedom, it's monarchy, and this and that. I said, yeah, we don't have freedom, but you guys are fighting over elections, and we're just building and building, constructing, developing. So it also comes from the leadership as well. Coming to your point, like leadership is
yeah. I mean, that's
vision.
an issue. If you have good leadership, you can achieve a lot,
Exactly.
and I think that's it can be very difficult, to be frank, in democracies to get good leadership. But I think it's great to see the improvements in quality of life that people have had here over the last 20, 30 years. It's amazing. And hopefully it keeps going, with new leadership.
I think that the thing that what interests me most about Dubai is like all my family is very old mindset. Like, they're born and raised in Canada or in Italy, and Dubai is like the flood came, and within like 2 weeks they were issuing tenders for infrastructure for sewage systems and drainage and like this type of stuff. One, there's no budget for it in most countries, and two, like you need to go through lobbying and processes. So like in Dubai, it's like it's run like a business, and it's like, how can, if there's issues or from infrastructure, like if you go actually tour around Dubai and you go to like Sakim, like close to where we live, they're building bridges because there's too much traffic, like overpasses and stuff. And these things get done instantly, like, which is completely different from the rest of the world. And like, to be fair, like democracy with AI and stuff, like, is there really a democracy? Because like, influence through AI on social media platforms, since everyone is driven to be, watching how are, especially younger generation, being targeted to influence decisions like for politics and stuff, right?
Yeah, those are difficult questions.
It's not, I mean, more just sort of comments,
no, they are. But I think one thing as well is that when you're in a phase of development, in a place like Dubai where things are moving forward and optimism and so on, but a lot of Western countries are kind of mature at this stage. And when people, it happens everywhere. When people become wealthier, then things slow down, because then they have more vested interest. And I think you find like, if you have an empty piece of the desert and you're building a new community, it's very easy to throw roads in and all that. But if you're already in a dense urban environment, then everyone has some skin in the game, and people hire lawyers and they all get involved because they don't want things to change, So, or they, so it's good and bad. Like in California, we have a California Coast Commission, which we all complain about continuously. But at the same time, it's done an amazing job over the last 40 years of protecting the coastline. So we don't have an overbuilt coastline and people have access to the beach, and without them that would have gone away, so it's kind of like pluses and minuses, right, of each system. But hopefully we can all learn to take the best of each system.
Yeah, for sure.
Together,
that's the main thing. I think it wasn't the point about that. It was just like decision being, I mean, I was just promoting Dubai. To be fair.
Go for it.
We're passionate about Dubai.
Passion for Dubai. We all got.
I mean, there's a reason why we're still here.
Exactly. Right.
And it's, I mean, if it's for opportunity, but it's more so like we've like I mean, our kids don't even want to go on vacation. They're like, we have everything here. You can go on a vacation in Oman, or you can go to Abu Dhabi. It's like everything is here.
Disneyland is coming to Abu Dhabi. There's so many. In 5 years. Wow. By 2030. So there's so many things. Abu Dhabi, I think, is the next
big
thing as
for
well.
Sure.
So Disney World. We have already Sea World, Ferrari World. There's Yas Island. I don't know if you guys
we've been to Yas
there.
Island.
It's beautiful, and it's becoming better and better.
It's beautiful.
The coastline is just amazing in Abu Dhabi.
Beautiful landscape.
It's very nice landscape.
And coastline is, I would say, it's better, even better than Dubai.
It's better than Dubai, for sure.
I wouldn't hesitate to say that.
Water's cleaner. They have like all the little islands within Abu Dhabi is super nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and Abu Dhabi, it's been like 3 or 4 years like in a row the safest city in the world. Yeah. So it's like number one.
Nothing happens.
It's like nothing happens. Like it's
great.
Super safe. Yeah, I think. Unfortunately, we have like a couple of minutes, but it was absolute pleasure meeting you guys, and we're looking forward to have partnership together, to work together. I'm super excited. For me, this construction world, I was always been in real estate segment, like it's more than 10 years, but I've never been into like construction side of it. So now I'm like getting this experience from Chris, from you guys. It's absolutely stunning. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
great.
unfortunately,
So-
I need to learn about finance in order to put all these deals together. So, but I hope that in the next 6 to 8 months,
Yeah, you'll
I
be
can
an
step
expert.
away from finance. No, I don't want to be an expert.
Yeah.
I want to step away
Away
from
from
it
finance.
and let the team that we're building do that, so I can
Very
focus
true.
on construction and work with guys like you. So yeah,
Amazing.
pleasure, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for
Thank you
your
very
time.
much.
for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.